So as part of our CCIE studies, we actually need to know a little bit, is actually not a lot, about the ASA appliance or products. And so today we're actually going to be using Cisco's Modeling Labs, and I've not used that on the channel before, but we're just going to get into it. And we can see here we've got a simple deployment. I'm spinning up, going to fast forward through it, and then we'll be at the state in a minute where everything's spun up. But real quick, let's go ahead and go over it now. So what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Andre King coming at you, and we can see here on our screen we've got a pair of ASAs that here represented on the grid, I guess you could say. ASA 1, ASA 2, and then these invisible switches to connect to a inside router, which is denoted as router LAN, and then our router ISP, which is kind of mimicking the connection to the outside world. And just going to keep it simple today, really explore the primary commands that are needed to basically form over just a single interface or a single link failover in a case that something were to happen to a link or the device itself. So here we've got gig 0/0 representing that. And to be quite honest, we could have a separate interface, not only for the control plane, the heartbeats, the keep alive, etc., but if we wanted to track the state. And we'll explain that when we get to the commands. Trying to mentally think, should I type them out in Notepad, explain, or just get her done? But let me get back to the topology. Gig 01 is basically pointing towards the outside, and then we're going to actually use the name ifs to be in this casing, the O capital or uppercase, dot 1 representing the active, dot 2 representing the standby, and then subsequently for the inside we're going to do the same, uppercase I for the name if, and then of course dot 1 and dot 2 respectively. And we're just going to simply, from the inside this router LAN 10.100.100.100, we're going to ping across to the router ISP 10.10.10.10. We're not going to really mimic failover here today, like taking a link down. Actually need to probably do some trunking on a true switch. This is an unmanaged switch, so we'll do that in an upcoming video. But again, the purpose here is if you're studying for your CCIE security exam or lab, we just want to kind of demonstrate I won't say simple, but the commands that are needed to get credit for, failover. Not saying, the test or anything like that, but the concepts, etc. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check. We got our router ISP, which is the outside. We'll hit enable. We'll show IPNet brief here. We can see that we've got a loop back quad 8s. We're not going to really do anything with that today. Simple on gig 1, show run int gig 1. Nothing special about this, no description, just a straight up IP address. Show run pipe section route. We can see here that we when it comes up, we've got a default route pointing towards the dot 1 address. That's basically for the responses to get back or anything if we're not going to ping from here today. Likewise, let's take a look at the inside. It should be similar. Show IP int brief. We've got gig 1 here as well. We talked about this will be the source of the ping. Likewise, if we do show run int gig 1, again, nothing special there, just the IP address. Show run pipe section route. Similarly there, we should have a quad 0 route pointed to the inside dot 1. So we've kind of set ourselves ready to do these commands. Let's get into ASA 1. Enable. Let's type this evng, or not evng, apologies, Cisco, the CML default password. And then we'll do show name if. We can see here that we don't have anything configured. Show, I always do IP and brief, so it's backwards. Show int IP brief. We can see that we've got nothing configured there. So let's go ahead and jump into conft. And first off, let's rename this. We'll do host name. This one is ASA1 from our, let's see, our name tab there. Host name. We'll do it the same. All right, there we go. And we'll do show run int. What's that? Gig 0/0. Nothing there. And again, I call it kind of like a cheat code. It's telling you the bare minimum that's needed to forward traffic, bring it up, utilize it, etc. We need a name if, we need a security level, and of course an IP address. And we know with the inside and outside, there's going to be that default security level there. If we were configuring our management, we would have to specify that explicitly. So let's go ahead and get into this int gig 0/0. We'll do name if. Again, we'll give it the well, actually we don't need to actually configure that just yet. I don't think it does anything wrong. I don't think you need to configure, but let's go ahead and do it. We'll do name if. We'll name it failover _ link, and then security level set for. Actually, I don't think you need to do that. Let's see what would happen without it. All right, so we'll do default and name if. All right, there we go. So let's just no shut it. We'll do no shut on gig 0/0. And let's see, we're gig 0/0 on ASA 1. Let's go to ASA 2. We'll do enter. We'll do enable. Same password. Definitely let me know in the chat if you have to. Actually, I've not ever configured for failover, but I'm going to do it. See, because I'm like, what security level do you need? It's just control plane, heartbeats, etc. But don't want to mess that up. So we'll do conf t. We'll do no. We'll do name. Actually, not name it. We'll do int gig 0/0. Looking at the topology. No shut. So we come here, gig 00. So we're ready. We won't do the interfaces yet for tracking or monitoring, which we'll see here shortly. Hostname ASA 02. All right, I think now we'll stay in conf t. So on both of our ASA's interface, we get on this interface, ASA 1, 2. All right, cool. Let's hop in here. So the very first thing that we need to do is basically denote which one is active, which one of our units is active, and which one is going to be standby. So for ASA 2, the command will be failover LAN unit primary. We'll start configuring them the same. That way, failover LAN unit secondary. For this one, there's going to be 4 commands that are needed, and then we'll talk about the failover, and then we don't need any routes, but when we do the ping, we'll need to do one of 2 things. So let's keep getting it. All right, so next up we need to do on ASA 1, let's do failover LAN interface, and then same with security policies. You'll see on an ASA a lot of, instead of like specifying actual IP address and things like that, it's just like with the name if, the security zone, the policies will basically not reflect, but they'll point to and use and reference is the word I'm thinking of that. So it's no different here. We can give it any name, but again, we'll give it failover link as that representation. We'll do the proper casing, and then we need to specify the interface gig 0 up there, and then we see that non-failover link clear. We can ignore that for now, and truth be told, let's see if copy and paste works up in here. We'll do the same, although we should get our stick time correct. All right, we'll go back to ASA 1. So now that we have both of those, we've specified our primary, secondary unit for our failover LAN interface, failover _ link gig 0/0 there. That's basically specifying which interface is going to be used for, I call it, it's not control plane, but those heartbeats, those keep alive messages to see if the peer is still available, etc. And then this next one, which is failover link, and then again we give it that name that we are recognizing, and then this is where, there we go, the link part of that is from a statefulness. If in case of a failover event, let's say gig 0 by 1 went down to the outside interface on ASA 1, or the total appliance went down, the timeouts are exceeded, and then ASA 2 is resuming it. This is where those state connections, like when you do show CONN for show con, the connections, that state table is actually passed between the active, so that once it, not to say resumption, once it takes over, from the active device, if I was on VPN or something like that, I wouldn't have to log in again, or, things like that. So, but that's where I noted, like, if we had a gig 0 by 3 that we wanted to use a separate link for that versus the control plane or heartbeat, that's where we would put gig 0 by 3 here. Simple lab topology explanation type video today. We'll use the same link. And then our last one is we need to basically specify the IPs for those. So we'll do failover, interface, IP, and then again, we will denote that name, link, and then up here we've got 10 by 10 by 10 by 1, that mask. I put, we can see here, /24. Then we need to do standby, and then 10 by 10 by 10 by 2. And there we go. And we'll type again, like we said. Let's see, what do we got here? We didn't do the link over here, so we'll do failover link, and then failover link. There we go. Oh, sorry. There we go. And then failover interface IP. Failover interface. Yeah, IP. Failover link. 10 by 10 by 10 by 1. 2550. Standby. 10 by 10 by 10 by 2. All right, so we should be good there. Make sure it wasn't an error there. Yep. And so that's our 4 commands. So we do show, run, pipe, include, failover is in each of those. We can see these 4 here. And then we see right above it, there's no failover. So to force failover, if we were to do show failover state right now, we can see that there's no messages stating that one's, I think it's going to say standby or ready, one's active, and then that, the sync is done already. So let's go ahead on both of those. We'll type failover. And let's go ahead and sit on one. No active mate detected. My Australians or Aussie counterparts, when I was overseas, I love hearing that word. Cheers, mate. Switching to OK for reason. Okay, so ASA 2 detected an active peer, and then no need to try to rush or get ahead. Enter, blah, blah, blah here. Beginning configuration replication, sending to the standby. And we can see here, it's actually installing like that cert. So end of configuration replication. So this is almost done here. And we'll do the same command, and maybe we'll bring this up a wee bit to be able to see more on the screen. Or actually we could show while it's doing it what it's seeing. We can see here that the sync is done. This again from the stance parlance of the active. This host is the primary, that failover land unit primary command that we did there. The other host is secondary. Again, same thing, just secondary instead of primary. And the syncs are done. So basic kind of detections are actually show failover state. We didn't type it over here, letting us know that it's done. Interfaces, this host, 3 others still. Let's do this command ahead. Let me see, show int IPB. These aren't configured yet. So if we do just simply show failover, we should see that we are not monitoring any of those interfaces just yet. So let's bring this down a wee bit, and let's prep to basically configure these interfaces queue. And we need to just do that from the active one. This is where I always say it gets weird. Like, I don't know why this host name changed. Almost like we're not in ASA 2 anymore. Maybe I need to do a write or something, but we'll keep pressing forward. Come back to that. All right, so let's do a show int IPB again. So we've got gig 01, which will be outside, and gig 02, which will be our inside. So we'll do int gig 0 by 1. We'll do name if, let's look up there. 01 is outside with an uppercase O. And then we'll do, we see again the message of by default, the security level set to 0 for that special name. We'll do IP address 10 by 10 by 10 by 1, 255/24, and then standby will be 10 by 10 by 10 by 2. Gig 00. Oh, sheesh, we configured the wrong IP address on gig 0. It's supposed to be 000. Sheesh. All right, let's see if we can, let's get some practice. Again, I'm not going to re-edit this video and record it. We troubleshoot through things. So let's go ahead and take failover down. So we'll do no failover. No failover. Actually, haven't had to do this before, but we'll think it through. I always like to think through logically. Show failover state. All right, let's see. All right, none. Because I don't know that you can configure while it's doing the show run pipe section. Failover. Let's just do include. But actually, there's only the one command, this one, that we need to change. So let's see if we can do it. Failover interface, IP, failover underscore link 10 by 0 by 0 by 1. Apologies for pushing through too fast here. Got to slow down. But the thing that we're trying to get to is, especially, is that if this were the exam, and well, I don't have instructions here. Maybe I need to start writing these like exam style. Like if we do guide, this is where you can edit and type it like a notebook kind of thing. But what I'm hinting at is, there we go. All right, cool. So show run pipe include failover. It's that we got to practice from a repetition standpoint on how we're gonna, because that exam, I'll tell you that for the route and switch, and I'm sure all of the CCIEs, that time, that clock is just a ticking. So let's see. So again, if they said the name ifs are these, then the uppercase and all that matters. That's kind of what I was getting at. So let's do failover and failover. I still think that's weird. I see here that that it show, well, what are we doing? Show failover state. We'll be patient, like I said. From the view of this one, this unit is syncing. Will not be effective at this time. All right, so this host is secondary and standby. The other host is active. Cool. And let's press up enter one more time. Cool. So we're back in the state. We just needed to change the IPs to make it active. So we'll go back to int gig 0 by 1. And we said, actually, show run, and I think the name of should still be there. Yep. So we just need the IP address to be 10 by 10 by 10 by 1/24. And you can see here we're not using you don't ever use the inverse mask for this. It's the ACLs, but subtle differences between like a CSR or router versus the ASA are always things to keep in mind. Actually, standby 10 by 10 by 10 by 2. All right, there we go. Cool. Took there. And let's do the same for, that's gig 02, int gig 0 by 2. The name if should be inside. The IP, actually, we can cheat hundreds. We'll just add some zeros here. All right, cool. Show IP, no, show int IPv, int IPv. No shuts. All right. Then shut and get here by window shut up 3 times. Up. All right, cool. So we got our data interfaces up. And now if we do that show failover command again, we'll see that now we start to see the interfaces being tracked or monitored, which is what we want. Else there's no possibility of automatic failover occurring if we're not tracking anything. So up, monitored. All right, so all 4 are monitored. We can see there these 2 pair here on the active unit and then on the standby. So that's one of the most important things there. And if we press spacebar, we see more packets from the statistics. So cool. And then the last thing really, like I said, is just to touch reachability. So if we go over to the router LAN, press enter again, we've got kicked out or timed out. If we try to ping 10 by 10 by 10 by 10, we can see that that's not working. So by default, the ASAs, the stateful tracking is going to be on TCP and UDP packets, but not this specific protocol, ICMP. So we could configure some ACLs, but we'll do that cheat code today, which I don't know that I think it's not advisable on production. So let's do show run pipe. We'll do, I think we can do begin at policy. Try to look at these. Oh, geez. Actually, let's not do that. I don't know why section didn't work. We'll look at the global policies. Let's just include. All right, so there we go. Let's just do begin. I think global. There we go. All right. So this is the section that we want to see. Policy map, class inspection default, and then we'll inspect ICMP. We see that it's not being inspected. So we'll copy these 2. Let's go into Q. We're already in conf T. Let's see if I can control shift V. Yep. And then we'll inspect ICMP. We'll go back to, what's that, router LAN, press up, enter, and there we go, we got success. So again, it's not a session like telnet, SSH, or anything like that. So even if we were to come here and do showcon, it's not a connection that's there, that specific protocol. But again, long story short, what we want to do is start preparing, you know, we're saying it's like we're all doing it together, but you know, if you know me, you know, I'm dabbling into all these crazy things, pen testing, CCIE automation. We've been in the background. I told Celesio, studying CCIE Security. The last 2 years, we didn't ever stop. Pick up a book, pick up a section of a chapter, etc., slowly here and there. But this is one of the topics that is definitely needed, along with, you know, context. I don't think we can do it. I think we got to put a license on, and I'm getting away from the video. I'm gonna bring it back so we can wrap it up here. But if we do mode multiple, or mode question mark, so to get that, I'll have to look into that, I think, because that's some of the stuff that we need to practice as well. Truth be told, I got a pair of old ASA 55 10s or 20s or something pulled from a job 5 years ago when they were decommissioning it. So worst case, we can set up the physical pairs, we'll build out our lab in the basement downstairs, maybe breakout sessions different, but introduce it into the lab somehow, and we'll get her done. But like I said, we're at the stage of where we're going to start mixing in a little bit more, get outside of just Palo Alto, which we'll get back to as well. We'll do, like I said, the mini series coming up with some AWS. I don't think we'll put Azure in there at the time. Some AWS organizations, multi-tenancy. That's something we haven't ever talked about on the channel. And, you know, like I said, check this video out here. I never know if it's the right finger. where we kind of talk about the highlights of that series while we're out for a job. But I digress. Like I said, I know this video is a little bit longer than it needs to be. Appreciate all of you that kind of respect and appreciate this part of the craft. Push through, troubleshoot some things there. Like I said, I do want to, not for an exam or anything like that, but see what happens if you do configure a nameth on this interface. And there was something else that I needed to look at or go back to. We mentally just thought through how to get around that incorrect IP address on a failover link. Like I said, there were for our architecture here, just 4 commands other than that failover that were needed. So we briefly discussed what each of those, how the relevance of it within the failover type configurations. And then, we demonstrated the monitoring of the data interfaces that are needed. I mean, again, if you configure all of this failover, but you don't have an actual, hey, if this interface goes down on the active, etc., initiate the hold down timers, blah, 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 then a polling, etc. What good is it? It's really just gonna then over this failover link, if it doesn't hear any heartbeat, the whole appliance. So there's the 2 for if the appliance goes down or if one of the interfaces, especially that one to the outside world, goes down, initiate it. So we lose that 50% without monitoring these interfaces. But again, I hope you found value in today's video. I want to thank each and every one of you out there so much for rocking here with us over these past few years. Personal life, we mix up some of that. Sometimes we talk about in our video, not relationships or anything like that, but just search that we're going through and things like that. Mixed kind of reviews from the channel. Some want to keep it straight on networking, the pen testing, the daily that we got there. It divided, I won't say statistics, but it started not sending the videos or suggesting or recommending it to the long-time viewers. So we still don't know the direction of the channel. I mean, I renamed it from Network Your Future to Andre King to try to adopt or incorporate that part that we're all ever changing, dynamic, hopefully not just one single path or track in our life. And I wanted the channel to be able to have that elasticity capability to do that as well. But like I said, we'll see where it goes from here. But like I said, thank you so much for always rocking here with us. But until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves. Peace.